Here we go. All right. So welcome everyone to our webinar. And yes, so as I was saying, we are going to start with our webinar at the moment right now. Roberto is going to take you through the document that we've done, but I'm going to give you just a little bit of a background first, just so you know where we're coming from. Oh, we're having a few people who are joining right now. So yes, I'm allowing people in. Here we go. Great. More people, brilliant. Yes, feel free, as I was saying, feel free to keep your camera on or off. It's completely up to you. If you just want to listen in and not, obviously interact with us, we're going to have a webinar first. So it's just literally going to be just me giving a bit of background, and then Roberto speaking about the document. And then when we open up for the Q&A later on, if you have any questions, of course, feel free to come in. And we are recording the event, the webinar. So welcome again. So this is going to be about voiceover usage fees for the Italian territory. Forgive me if you see me lagging while I'm talking. It's not my computer, it's literally me allowing people in while I also talk. We are doing this because a few years ago, we realized, so both myself and Roberto Benfenati are voiceover artists from Italy, based in the UK. And a few years ago, we started basically cooperating with ADAP, which is the ADAP, which is the trade union equivalent in Italy, who basically sets standard fees for voiceover and ADR and dubbing in Italy. And basically what we realized was that the fees, the fee system in general, the usage fee system in Italy is much more complex than the one that is is averagely applied in the UK for the Italian market. So the fees are generally higher in Italy. And they are basically more complex than what is usually suggested if you look at usefee.tv, which is a very straightforward multiplier. You've got like 500% of the BSF for a year on all TV kind of thing. It's much more complex than that. It's actually, if you're familiar with the way that the UK applies usage fees for the UK territory, it's pretty similar, it's pretty analog to that. So basically what you take into consideration is the number of channels, the length, so the number of weeks that a commercial is going to go for, the number of radio stations, of course, impressions and stuff like that. So Italy basically has a massive market in ADR and VO. So over the years, we realized that we just had lots of interactions with agents and clients about this, because basically, if you were an agent in Italy, you would have no problem charging literally sometimes £5,000 for something, whereas we found that in the UK, the equivalent would be 900. So there was definitely some confusions there about how do you go about doing this. So that's why we started actually collaborating through equity with the PMA. Well, basically I know there are some PMA members here. So we got an agreement, thanks to Tim Gale at Equity, to recognize there's a little clause now, if you go on the page, on international page on usefee.tv, that says that basically you should be applying the rates for the specific country, the destination country of your voice, if the voiceover artist is mainly just working for that country. So to put it plainly, if you've got a UK talent who's doing an English voiceover and he's doing it for a number of countries in English, that's fine. You can probably look at use fee. But if you're hiring, say, one of us, for example, or somebody who's anyway is doing that voiceover to go directly in a country, and that's it. So my voice in Italian, for example, will probably simply go to Italy. That's generally what the voiceover will be for. It will be just targeted for that country, and that's it. Then in that case, rather than looking at the fees that are suggested on usefee.tv, you should actually make reference to the ones that are the standard fees in that country. So in this case, in Italy, the fees, as I was mentioning, are actually higher, and the system is more complex. So this is why we did this. We actually did this a few years ago. We started we got the document at the end of the 2019 and beginning 2020. We got this document, the previous version of this document with the rates of that time, translated into the English one. So we started using it with our agents and clients. And now we've got this updated one for 2022 that takes into considerations more things such as impressions and other things for the online usage, which is very useful because that wasn't in place before in the original rate card in Italy. So this is a rate guidance document that we've created, literally translating the standard fees that are applied in Italy. So if you would go to Italy, that's exactly what you'd be charging through an agent, through a client. If any client would go to ask a voice who's based in Italy for the same product, for the same advert, the same number of weeks and the same number of channels, etc., you would get these rates, the ones that we are presenting now. These are obviously just a guidance. They are a base for potential negotiation, of course, with the clients or the agents, whatever is the interaction. But yeah, they are a very useful reference. So I think that's all at the start. Okay. I don't think I forgot anything for now.
Okay.
So I am going to pass on to Roberto, who is going to illustrate the document.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. I'll try to be extremely quick. First, I need to tell a couple of things. The first, I'm not expecting everybody to get familiar to this rate card immediately in 20 minutes. I try to be short. What I'd like to do is you to become familiar with the system that's behind. And then we will be available, Alessandro and I, in the next days, even in months, to help you go through the way. Ale said, if you are familiar with the English system, ours is similar. Not precisely. There's one little difference. We do not have in Italy TVRs. And that's the main problem, because sometimes when I was asked for rights in Italy, more often clients ask for 1 year in Italy, just thinking, well, more or less, we are going to do something in that period of time. In Italy, unfortunately, the number of days calculated in weeks, it's the base to determine how much to be paid. So if somebody says that I'm going to ask for rights for an entire year, I assume that you are going to broadcast your advertisement 365 days, and I'm going to charge for that a lot of money. And this actually doesn't happen even for big brands, which they normally go for 3 months, 4 months, over a year. And that is a different rate. So the first very important thing is to have a media plan that all the clients have. Because, of course, when you buy spaces on televisions and radios, you already planned it. It's not a thing you can do one morning, out of the blue. So before starting sharing my screen with all the amounts, there are a couple of things that I wanted to say exactly. So don't start looking at, oh my God, how many figures we have, because there are a lot of figures, but they are all exception to a massive system, which could be already similar to what you already know. So let's go. Let me give you the opportunity to share the screen, because maybe it speaks volume. So go to share screen like this one. Okay, you should be able to see now the PDF. Alessandro, do you confirm?
I confirm.
Okay, it's big enough for everybody to understand, to see, to read the numbers. I hope so.
Pretty clear, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, don't become scared by all the percentage and all the things. As I said, we are going to explain better in due course. As I said, if you want to know exactly how much is a year on television, is this one here where I have my hand, 2,200% of the BSF, which is much more, of course, than the 500 you were used to. But as I said before, this is because I assume that you're spending probably more than 1 million euro more, because you are on all the televisions every day of the year, and it doesn't happen. We already have here a more reasonable way of understanding, which is 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks. And then from 24 to 54 is exactly the same, which is the way that normally it happens. The rate with the yellow background, it is the kind of easy way to go. We also have, as you can see, other smaller amounts, which are, let's say, exceptions. You might have your client that is programming only one channel or two channels. Then you have one network, two networks. It doesn't matter which channel. You can have your clients instead programming on 4 or 6 channels. And this normally happens with families, like in English, ITV and BBC. BBC doesn't have commercials, but in Italy, Rai has. So it could be, sorry, I have messages from, from clients. And again, you have the rates for the first week and for each additional week over a year. For us here, it's not the calendar year from the 1st of January. The year is the year from the first day of the broadcast. So if we start today, the 17th of March, the year goes to the 16th of March, 2023. And you have for programming 8 weeks, you have the first week and the other 7, each at this price. Again, don't try to memorize all of them. We're going to see them maybe in the future. Here you have all the groups in the rate. You'll have also the pages giving which channel are included in the groups. So Sky, you see all the Sky, of course. You see Cairo, which is 4 channels, Publitalia, famous Berlusconi channels, Canale 5, Italia 1, Rete 4, and all the others. Sorry, I'm going back to, then I'll do again later in the Q&A. So this is more or less the way of calculating. First week, each additional week, having the idea of what the advertisement are going to be played is key, sometimes to save money even to what you were used to before. Because if it's only one channel, it's pointless to pay an entire year over all the channels. For us, channels are national coverage or the biggest urban areas. We have small fees for region or limited target TV. Limited target TV is a television with a dedicated audience, like hunting channels. You know that the people watching that are, of course, limited. The cinema, but it's included in all TVs. You can't spend more than this for the first week. So if you are planning Publitalia, Rai, and Sky, it's best to go directly to the formula all TVs, which is the all-inclusive. I'm moving to the radio, then we'll go back later. Another important thing that I see in red, in case of campaign program in the same yearly period, involve a different media, such as TV, radio, and internet, TV, radio, TV, internet, radio, internet. The cheapest of the subtotals is discounted by 50% only when the combination of the section is negotiated simultaneously. So if today you're using my voice for a radio campaign, internet campaign, the cheapest of the two sectors will be discounted 50%. Radios, the system is exactly the same. We don't have family networks. We have single channels up to 8. There are much more, many radios in Italy, as many televisions, but more than 8. Again, all radios Italy is the quickest option. And you have the percentage again for an entire year here, or for periods which are more or less month, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks. Important, Spotify, it's not a radio, it's an internet channel, and we'll go quickly to that. Internet rights. Internet is the more complicated, which is, of course, as you know, could be paid or non-paid. For non-paid, what is the organic communication? Their social networks, their page, their internet, their YouTube, non-paid, where the client is not promoting through the Google or through Meta their advertisement. Or you have the paid internet. Paid internet could be calculated in 2 ways. One, which is similar to television, every week, without first week, second weeks, is every week, or every 1,000 impression. So you have the 0.04% of the BSF every 1,000 impressions that you bought, your client bought from Google. And you buy that when you do a kind of media plan on the internet, is already Facebook or Instagram giving you that figure. If you give me this money for 30 days, I give you 100,000 contacts, 150,000 interactions, and so on. That's the figure. So for 150,000, of course, it's 0.04 times 150. And then you have the percentage of the BSF. So as I said, YouTube, Spotify, since it's targeted either geographically and for the population, it's considered an internet channel. If we don't have data, we can consider sometimes small areas or little targets. When we don't have the possibility to have the impressions because your client maybe don't want to disclose that. If it's 4 weeks, 8 weeks, or whatever, and we understand that the client has a small market, either because it's something that happens only in one single region, is a service, for example, for water or whatever, or because, again, they produce and sell only products for horse riding, and so we know that in Italy, the population practicing that is very limited, we can have a discount to 15% per week instead of 40% per week. 1, 2, and 3. These are all the rights where every time you use a voice in Italy, you always have to consider more or less rights. Again, in case of brands, you can have also podcasts with brands. Let's say IKEA, for example, doing a series of over the internet podcasts, either sponsoring or promoting the company, and then you have different rates, of course. If it's just sponsoring, you have only the BSF. If IKEA is creating a promotion, a big promotion through a podcast, then you have rights. Or you can have sometimes podcasts which are paper contents, like, I don't know, maybe a language course or a training course, then you have a little right. If it is then internal, like speaking to the workforce, of course, only the BSF. We also included, even if it doesn't happen in England, to have the telephone rights for the services, because it's going to be really very limited. And then with the list of channels. At the end of our rates, you'll see many examples or way to understand the guides. One important thing that I forgot to say, which is a big difference, And sorry, I'm going back. I said it's chaotic. I'm trying to be quick. The rights in Italy are calculated for the campaign. So if I'm recording for the same campaign for Fiat, for the new Fiat 500 electric, a campaign which is created in 5 cuts, 130, 220, 210, just that's enough, 5. The rights are calculated only once. We have the BSF because maybe we'll record that in more than 1 hour, but the rights are calculated for that campaign. This sometimes can create a kind of problem in understanding if 2 commercials are the same campaign or not. And there are examples to understand what is the core of the campaign in our definition. I would like to stop now because I don't want to go into all the details. Otherwise, it becomes very, very boring. And I know that once you'll have this rate card, probably you'll start having some questions, and I'll be happy to reply. Don't be scared. It is complicated for the first 40 minutes, and then it becomes quite clear. I forgot one thing. All this is related to rights. And you don't see in this rate, but we'll add that, related to ADRs or movies. This is because add up, I am one of the 5 people who created this rate in Italy, and it took 1 year. It's dedicated to commercial. We also have, of course, one branch which is dedicated to the union, dedicated to movies or video games and so on. In that case, you do not have rights. You only have a fee for recording. The fee in Italy for recording dubbing is different. It depends on what you are dubbing: a movie, a TV series, a reality shows, if it's lip sync or simul sync or just voiceover. And basically, it's a fee for being called plus some euros per line. The price changes for every single product. So we found a way to give the indication for the English market, which is quite similar to the Italian in the end, which will be the first hour, 100% of BSF, the following hours, 2, the following 2 hours, maximum 3, at 50% of the BSF. And this will make a block of 3 or 4 hours. And sometimes is the maximum that an actor can do, especially if we have to play video games or something where you have to play a very funny voice. It's impossible to do it for more than that. Okay, Alessandro, I know that I made a lot of confusion. I know that I said too many things at the same time, but probably now going back slowly with our guests through each single period, probably we can clarify a little bit how it works. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. No, I think it's a good idea. If anyone has any questions at this stage about any of these things, feel free to throw in your questions. One thing that I'm going to say is that I think, like for us, of course, it's actually not that complicated at all, because as Roberto said, it's actually at the beginning it seems like very complex, but it's really not. Once you've got the right amount of time and the right means and everything is in there. So we try to make sure that the document has more information rather than less, of course, so that if you need the information, is actually in there. But if not, you just simply look for the right cell that you need and you'll find the right multiplier. Also, another thing that I think it helps is all the examples at the end of the documents. I find them really helpful because sometimes different cuts, and it's really important to understand when you should multiply the usage more times because you have maybe, for example, more products being advertised in the same campaign, and in other situations actually it's just different. It's the same script but just different cuts. In that case, the usage is multiplied. It's just that one. It's not more than once. It's just the same one. So it really varies. And I think that last bit with that Roberto is showing right now, where he says how to consider subjects, example 1, example 2, example 3.
Yeah.
It's really helpful. Also, at the top of that page, we've got a bit of glossary. So we've got cuts, subject, products, and campaign. So it explains everything what it is, just in case it's confusing for some. Yeah, so I think we've got quite a lot of info in there. So in case is needed, it is in there. But yeah, if anything is unclear or you have any questions about anything, feel free. Also, we put some of the, I just put in the chat our email addresses, Roberto's and myself. So we will also send them my email. So again, if needed, if at any point, in the future, we will send the PDF via email, of course, but, if in the future you don't know how to, you're confused by something and you don't know how to read the document for whatever reason, you can, of course, email us as well.
Even if I'm not involved as a voice, but you have somebody else involved, but you need a kind of clarification about, I'm really happy to be helpful. I mean, for others, what we want is to find a way which is not undermining the Italian union, to have a kind of fair competition. Then, of course, we are on a free market and we are all free to apply whatever we want. But what we want is a kind of informed situation in which then we are playing more or less the same game. And this is the same reason why, of course, if you go on newsfeed, you have the indication for America to consider SAG and AFTRA or other unions when you go in some countries. This is exactly the same principle. As I'm used to saying, when you hire a voice in Italy, it's like renting a house, a holiday cottage somewhere. And that's why you need to know exactly where to go and how long you want to use it. Because if you want to hire this house for an entire year just to go there a couple of weeks, you better tell the owner, I need that house for a couple of weeks. It's going to be much, much, much cheaper. But if you ask me the entire year, of course, I have to consider that the house is for you, and that's it.
I have a question. I'm sorry if you've covered this already, but what is the percentage based on? So in the English system, it's based on 1 hour studio fee.
Is that exactly? It is.
Yeah. So how does it work in Italy?
Well, no, we translated this into because in Italy, you don't have percentage. In Italy, we have clear amount. You have 250 euros for calling me, plus an additional fee for each 30 minutes I'm staying, plus sometimes for documentaries, an additional fee for number of pages. Okay. And then instead of seeing, like you see here, 200, 2,000%, you have 6,000 euros for 1 year. We can't do this in the UK, so we thought, let's translate and adapt that rate to the English way, which is in percentage. Also because doing this, it's also a way of negotiating, because of course, based on the price of my BSF, automatically you are also negotiating the rights. So it gives a kind of freedom, but giving the proportion anyway to 1 year, 6 months, or 2 channels, or all the channels.
Yes, I should add that, yeah, the reason, as many will probably know, but anyway, I will say anyway. So rate cards are illegal in the UK. So that's the reason why we can't have clear numbers on it. Even if you go on the usv.tv website, you'll find percentages. They're all multipliers. You can't have the actual clear figure, unfortunately. That's just how it works in the UK.
If I show the Italian rate, the Italian rate card, you'll see you have here, these are not percentage, but euros. All of this internet is 2,500 euros, while in our calculation is internet is 1,500%. So we try to find a way to make it close to.
Yeah, so this is to say that that's why this is a rate guidance document as opposed to a rate card, which is the same as everything else. Anything that has to do with voiceover rates has to be this way in the UK. So that's the reason why Equity fully supports us for what we're doing and has been helping us for years and everything, but they cannot officially endorse us in what we're doing here, because of course it's just not possible. Like officially, legally, it's not possible. There's an anti-competition law that allows people, forbids people to say this is the right amount, you know, and that can of course be done only when you have an official agreement between official bodies. So, you know, for example, you know, the BBC or a radio station will have an agreement with Equity, and then in that case, you'll have an official agreement, and those will be the official rates. So it's in the voiceover sector is much more complex,
Also,
as most of you will know.
Also, the Italian rates are not only expressed in euros, but they are the net profit for the voiceover talent, even net to pension contributions, because in Italy, every time you use a voiceover actor, you have to employ him and fire him after him or her after 1 hour, paying the contribution for the period, which is quite bureaucratic. So the figure displayed in the Italian rates are the net for the talent. Actually, agencies or production companies are paying 25% more than, because of course they have all these things to pay. That's why, for example, just because I showed the example of internet, 1500%, it doesn't really correspond to 2,500 euros. It's more or less 3,000 euros. But that's the one. That's why, because in England we have, of course, a complete different system, also fiscal system. So what we've done is a translation and really an adaptation to find a way that the final cost is very, very, very similar, of course. And then there's the negotiation, which happens everywhere. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So you mentioned that it's an adapted rate card, or, you know, with rights, but is there a way to get, if you don't want to publish it anyway, is there a way to get a rate card with some figures? Because whenever I work with international clients, I work according to their local rates. So it always gives me a better idea of what to expect. And I've been approached by Italian clients a few times, and each time I suggested a rate, it was too high for them. So I'm a bit lost in terms of how much I could charge for it. It's usually explainers for like brand.
Yeah, I believe that sometimes clients approached you in hoping that you were using a different system, because, for example, it happened to me, and that is one of the reason why I started 2 years ago with Alessandro this kind of adventure, because I had in Italy refused some work because, of course, they proposed a very low rate. And I've been called through an English agent proposing, of course, the BSF, the proposing the kind of use fee 1 year general. And I had to reply, no, I'm sorry, because well, in England, you can do this. I'm sorry, I can't. So I understand, of course, it's a jungle. And there will be always non-union talents. This in every market, even if you go to the United States, there are non-union talents working for whatever rate. But again, even non-union talents, they use this rate card, the Italian rate card, as a reference. That's why you can always talk, because sometimes you can't create a rate card for every single case. So the important thing is to have a kind of reference. It should be like this, but listen, my client is actually, he's doing 12 weeks, but only there, and it's a little client, and can we talk? Yes, of course we can talk, but we know where to start from. Of course, if you think I give you 500 euros and that's it for all year round, no, sorry, that's really out of any kind of possibility to even to start a negotiation.
Can I just ask, out of interest, how did it start in Italy? Is it based on reach and sort of impressions, TVRs like here?
No. In Italy, all started in 1980 when we started having more than one TV channels, and the first rate was really how many months. It was divided in months, and how many channels, based on the principle that the more you expose and the more you pay the televisions, the more your product is sold. And so I, as a voice, I need a little percentage of this kind of help I'm giving you to sell. Unfortunately, we don't have impressions because televisions don't want to tell the clients exactly their penetration in the market. And so they sell still in weeks or in months or number of channels and whatever. So that's why we don't have the TVRs. We are starting in Italy using the impressions for internet, but still it is complicated. Clients don't want to disclose that. So sometimes you have to go, as you see now in the example, for weeks, like the television, because unfortunately Vodafone says, well, I don't tell you how many people I bought. I'll tell you that I'm going to be on with paid promotions on Facebook, YouTube, and whatever for 12 weeks. Okay, that's it. So 12 weeks times 40%, and you have 480% of my BSF. It will be the amount that I'm asking for internet.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Struggling to find the mute button. Thank you.
Okay. So, of course, you're going to receive this. I'm going to update it with the ADR movie and gaming voice recording fees to give you an idea of what you can have in Italy. And then, of course, you have to play a little bit with the examples. But remember that this situation is what often you are facing, which is all the televisions in Italy, cinema included and whatever, for a number of weeks. And the majority of clients, including big clients, and big clients, I mean telephones, cars, or whatever, they normally are around 12, 16, 20 weeks over a year. Very rarely, almost impossible, they ask for an entire year. Maybe it happens, for example, an entire year where they are sponsor or Formula One, and so they play the advertisements only on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This is the case in which we can talk, because of course you can call me saying, listen, our client is covering probably 300 days, but actually only few days a week. Can we find an agreement? Sure, certainly we can. We can find a way which is more or less corresponding to the investment. So
yes, I think an important thing is getting information from the original client agency or the marketing agency, or getting to know exactly how they're going to use it for how long. It's very helpful to give the appropriate quote. Because of course, if the agency, if we don't have that information as agent or as talents, all we can do is, if a client comes forward and says, I want to use it in Italy for the year for an advert, it's usually quite unlikely, because in most situations it's not needed for that long. That's the thing. So in this case, we've got situations where if we can find out exactly how long you're going to actually air the commercial, you'll find that the correct quote, of course, is going to be much lower, because otherwise all we can do is say, okay, well then we're going to have to apply the all year quote, which is much higher, and they might just not be needed for them. So it's all in the information. Basically, we believe that the whole point is, the more information you can get, both through this document and from the original client, is the best way to get the right quote. And that's of course, as Roberto was saying, is just a reference.
By the way, I said we are going to send this rate card, but also I take the chance to thank Hugh, because we are going to have this card published on Gravy for the Brain, so it will be visible for of course, for everybody who's going to visit the website. Yeah, let's say that, just to summoning again for the last time and stressing the concept, knowledge is the best way of having a tailored price for the clients. So when clients want to save money and they don't have a lot to spend, it means that probably they have the wrong information for the on air, because for Vodafone, which is spending maybe 350,000 euros in television adverts, paying 2,500 for the rights, it's absolutely fine. You have some problems when the client is expecting to spend 800 pounds for the voice, because actually the client is spending 50,000 pounds on television. But then the wrong question is, I want the rights for the entire year, because if the client is spending just 50,000 euros, probably is going to plan their advertisement for 15 days on La Sette, which happens. In that case, even the use fee system would be even too much. So that's why knowledge is power.
La Sette is, of course, one of the national
channels
on TV.
From Cairo. Again, you'll have all the channel in. Oh no, I'm not sharing. So sorry. Let me go and share again. Yep. Sorry. Okay.
Yes, we've got them all listed. That's really helpful as well.
Also created a kids package, which is not actually a family, a single client. Normally it's between Rai, Sky, and whatever. And we did so because there are many products that sometimes have a kind of dedicated area, which is only in the afternoon and only in these channels. These channels are across different families, but since the product is very sectorial, it would have been stupid to pay Rai, Publitalia, Sky, and Cairo, all these channels only for the kids. So we created a kids package, which is cheaper, just because, of course, you understand it directly by the product. When you are advertising something which is a toy or little games or whatever, you perfectly understand they can't be aired in prime time in the night, because in Italy it's forbidden. And you can't, of course, air these things in the morning because the kids are in school and they go across several channels, but it's a kind of discount again.
Okay. Do we have any more questions at all?
Yes, it's me again.
Go ahead.
So I understand that you don't want to, or you can't share any specific figures on Gravy for the Brain or anywhere else, but is there a way that maybe you could share with us some examples just among us in an email? It doesn't have to be now with examples, for example, for explain, like a 2-minute explanation.
For example,
for video for YouTube, or
I created the examples, 3 examples here for the also to understand a campaign for the automotive brand Acme. It doesn't exist, of course, and the introduction of their new model XYZ, articulated in 2 subjects: dad picking the boys up with the new car and mom going to work with the new car, both in 3 cuts, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds. So 6 advertisements broadcasted for 12 weeks, all TV, and 4 weeks, all internet paid, so paid promotion. All recorded in 1 hour, so 1 BSF. Now, of course, it could be 250, 240. It depends on line. The exposed product is still 1, the new XYZ. Hence, the rights fees will be calculated only once. If negotiated simultaneously, the cheapest element, in this case internet, is discounted by 50%. TV usage fees, 400% first week, plus 11 times 80% each week, 880. Total, 1,280% of the BSF. You can do it times 220, 240. Internet fees, 40% for 4 weeks, it's 160%, divided by 2 because it's discounted, so 80%. So the total usage rights is 360% of the BSF. If I consider now, because it's easy, 250 pounds for the BSF times 1,360% is 3,400 euros, pounds, sorry. And this is the final price. And then you have another example, also to understand when the subject could be or not another campaign. The example 2 is a campaign for the automotive brand Acme again, and their new electric cars. 3 products: Model XYZ, Coupe Sport, and SUV. 1 subject and 3 cuts. Well, in this case, the product and their targets are different. So while the BSF is only determined by the number of hours at the microphone, the usage fee must be applied 3 times, because I'm advertising 3 different cars dedicated to 3 different targets. So in this case, it's very expensive. But we're talking about a client which is massive, like BMW or whatever. You can have, yeah.
So does the concept of BSF exist in Italy, or is it just your own translation into the
No.
UK?
We have the BSF. We have the BSF, which is 250 euros, plus the contribution for the pension, plus the 18% or 20% of anticipation of taxes. So it's going to be more. Then we apply 50% of each amount for every 30 minutes. Plus, in some cases, not in commercials, but in like in documentaries, an amount for each page we record. So even for the number of lines. That's why we wanted to simplify it, because of course, if we did this in the UK, it would be so different that it would be a problem for everybody. But yes, we have the BSF, and it is 250 euros, and it's 1 hour.
Okay. Is there a chance to, when you send this document, is there a chance to get a document in Italian specifically for Italian voices, so that I can get an idea of the local market? That would be very helpful.
So now I have a little problem, which is I can show you, I can't send it to you, because unfortunately, being member of VADAP, this association, which is the official commercial dubbers association, in theory, I shouldn't disclose this rate to nobody else than directly clients or members of that association, and we are a lot. Of course, I can do it anyway. You can see here, costo prima ora 250, first hour. Per ogni mezz'ora 50. Small retakes 150, and then you have for each page more than 3, it's 30 euro per page. And there's a definition of which is a page, 1500 characters. So it's quite easy to go over these characters. It's a normal documentary, it becomes many characters. And then you have the same thing in case of programming on more sections, TV, radio, internet. The cheapest section is discounted by 50%. Just to show you that we have exactly the same thing. As said, what you see here instead of percentage is euros, but you have to consider that for each one of these, you have to add a kind of 25% in national contributions and cost and thing. That's why.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, that's something I'm after. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, just to say that this is not an invention by Alessandro and I. It is the Italian tradition. ADAP, if you go and look for the website, adap.it, it is an association that exists since, I think, 1978. I became a member in 1989. Gosh, I'm old. and it has been always the reference for the so that many people which are not members, they all use exactly the same rate card in full, or they use it as a reference. I work with the other rates minus 10%. Okay, it happens, to be honest. But as I said, they are all references not written on a rock. So there's always a way to have a little bit of negotiation. The negotiation, though, it has to be on solid basis. I mean,
You have to know where to start.
Exactly.
So that's,
Exactly. And it is my purpose is this one, to give everybody a precise idea of what should happen. And then we can start talking, because we're all artists, we're all in this market, and we know that there's always a kind of negotiation also, because maybe you have a recurring client, you have a campaign that is going to be long, and for any reasons, me too, sometimes I have some way of favoring or not a relation. It's normal, but again, into a kind of legit interval. I don't know if I make clear the example.
Okay,
Do we have any more questions at all?
I think just a comment, you know, I'm sure you know this already, but it takes a bit of time to change things. It's like changing a culture, isn't it? So I'm sure you have it yourself as voice artists, you build the relationships with the clients, and then from those relationships, you can also then make the changes over time. But it's really, really good to get clarification on this and how, you know, what you think is fair. And I have been promoting that for a long time, actually, in all the countries. I think the rate structure should be more like it is in territory anyway. But yeah, I think together, you know, we can all make
because, for example,
fine.
sometimes it happened to me that I've been the Italian voice of a product which has been aired all over the world. And of course, if I'm recording Giorgio Armani Profumo, I can't really call all the countries to understand what they apply in each single country. But that is it's a particular case. It's really different if I am using a French for France, a German speaker for Germany, an Italian speaker for Italy. In that case, I need to apply the rates which are normally applied in that specific country for a reason. We have different markets because every country has a kind of different history, different way of calculating things. As I say, in Italy, we still have the criteria of the page because we come from dubbing, which has this kind of really rate per line. But that's our goal, finding a good compromise to give a final result which is applicable, which is similar. Then, of course, it is personal negotiation, like always.
Okay.
I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for all the hard work, and thank you for bringing us all together. I think it's really important because we need to stick together, guys. This is my message to you all.
Thank you, Jessica.
So thank you so much. It's very helpful.
In the chat, you have mine and Alessandro's email. Really feel free to ask for a kind of, listen, I have the client asking for that, what it should be, even if the voice is not me, I don't care. I like the idea of spreading the word. And so, of course, don't expect the reply in 30 minutes because it's not my job doing kind of consultancy, but every evening when I'm home, and if I'm not recording in my studio or in other studios, I will reply trying to help.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We will probably finalize a little bit the document. We have like the video games that Roberto mentioned, and a little retouches that we need to do, but then we'll send the finalized documents via email. So you got that. You will have our email addresses again in case you need any help at all for anything regarding this. Do let us know. That's not a problem. And that will be all from us. Thanks very much, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.